Why are there no penguins in the northern hemisphere? Like, if you look at a map of where penguins live, there just seems to be this line where suddenly they stop. Well, the equator acts as a kind of ecological wall for a lot of marine species where they can't pass. That's because, perhaps kind of counterintuitively, warm water is less nutrient dense than cold water. Penguins can live in warm places. They live in Australia, South Africa, Peru, but they need cold water because that's where all the fish are. Now, if the penguins could cross the equator, they would face another problem, which is land predators, particularly polar bears, which exist in the north but do not exist in the south. Penguins have essentially no natural land predators, which have enabled them to fill this ecological niche where they can just do their happy feet dance on land and not worry about getting murked by a giant polar bear. Now, there was a penguin-like bird in the northern hemisphere that we hunted to extinction called the great auk. Believe it or not, this thing is completely unrelated to penguins, even though this is where we get the word penguin from. We called these things penguins before we called penguins penguins, but they're not related. This is just a bizarre example of convergent evolution. Now, there were never as many of these as there were penguins because there were so many land predators. So they had to find like rocky islands that were safe, but there is one predator they weren't safe from, and that is humans. We use their down feathers. Their eggs were collectibles for rich people, especially as they got rarer and rarer and rarer. They were hunted because they were rare, and the very last two of them were killed by a museum that wanted to, taxidermy them and preserve them, which is crazy, but it was the early 1800s. Like, scientific ethics were not there yet.